Hello, BookTube, and welcome to Friday Reads. It's rolled around, and it's Friday again. Um, just a second, what's? Oh, I was wondering what that was. That's bubble wrap. Just looked kind of funny behind me there. And sirens going by again. A general occurrence most days here. Well, several times a day, I should say. Anyway, so yeah, it's Friday. So Friday Reads. Um, I started out the week okay. But by midweek, I started failing or ailing, one or the other. Um, uh, just not getting enough rest, so just being extremely tired. So I've been doing as best as I can, reading a little bit, and then after a nap or something like that, or a rest. I call it a nap. I call it sleep, but it doesn't really amount to sleep. Anyway, and then I try to do a video like I am now. I was laying down for a little while, up until about half an hour ago. But anyway, enough of that. I can moan on for hours, I suppose. um, this week is obviously, then I've been droning on about it too. I've been droning on about New Worlds November in science fiction. And the first story for this week I read was uh, I Robot by Iando Bender. It's kind of, Binder, sorry, Iando Binder, Binder. I keep saying Bender, thinking of Bender, the robot from Futurama, but that's not him. This was two brothers, and one was Otto, and I think the other one was Edward. But it's E and then A-N-D and then O. So E and O, Eando. It reminds me of S&A, which ESS A-N-A-Y, I think it is. Um, it's it was a production company, a film production company in the late teens. Chaplin did some of his great shorts for it during his S&A and Mutual stage of their shorts. Anyway, it's just a neat little thing, and the two writers, Otto went on to write a whole bunch of stuff after they sort of stopped writing together, and he wrote a lot for Marvel Comics, helped creating Supergirl and uh, not Justice League. There's another league or something like that. Justice League is DC. I don't even want to get started on comics because I'll just make a fool of myself. I don't know any of the stuff barely. Um, I know Scooby Doo. Let's put it that way. Comics, Scooby Doo. Yep, those are the comics that I read. um, but yeah, this was in Editor's Choice in science fiction, compiled by Sam Moskowitz. He was editor, compiler, anthologizer, historian, biographer of science fiction, mostly up until the '60s and into the '70s. And this was originally published in 1939, January 1939, Amazing Stories. Um, and it's really good. It's the first of, I think, 9 tales about Adam Link. There earlier in the week I did a full video of it, so I won't go into details. But it was a fun reread, and it made me want to read the other ones. And I can't find the book for anything, so I've downloaded some PDFs of the original magazines that the rest of the stories were in. So that'll do. I'll have to read those slowly. Now, the other one, it's no surprise to many, was Clifford Simak story called All the Traps of Earth. It was published in 1960, March edition of the magazine of fantasy and science fiction after being rejected by Galaxy, rejected by Horace Gold, the then editor, and John W. Campbell the then editor of Astounding, which shortly after this would change its name to its current analog. And it's a fabulous it's a fabulous short story. It's like it's about 45 pages long, so it's a little long for a short story, but it really works. And this is in the complete short fiction of Clifford Simak, Volume 1. There's 8 volumes. I've said this over and over, but I'll do it again in case nobody had seen the others. But there's 8 volumes in hard copy and paperback form, print on demand, and the other 4 are ebooks. Yeah, you can get them as EPUB, Kindle, and probably a few others, maybe even PDFs. And They're supposed to be 14 in total, so we're still waiting for 2. But David W. Dixon, who's putting them together, is in his mid-70s, so I hope they get done shortly. And they're poorly made. Like, just by reading the one story, you can see... can you see? Yeah, you can see the laminate is peeling just by holding it, or onto my belly, and a little bit onto the back here too. And by the time I read all the stories, this will be starting to peel upwards a lot, which is a pain. And next, I read, just for the fun of it, I read Huddling Place. Scott Bryant at the Bookish Bryants is reading Olive City, and I really like Huddling Place, the second tale. So I decided to read that. I actually read it in this version. It's volume 5 of the complete works. It was published in 1944, July 1944, in Astounding. And this is fabulous. I've read it, I don't know how many times. It could be close to 20 times. I used to read it every year up until a few years ago. I'd read Huddling Place maybe another time during the year. So, and as I say, around Wednesday I started flagging, and so I didn't really get much yesterday. I started. I've only got to like page 15 of 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke, and I'm. The plan was to do this, my book to film, for tomorrow, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm really disappointed in this book. It's a brand new book, and pages are coming out already. And I'm careful reading a book, so yeah. So pages are just falling apart, and just reading a few. So by the time I'm done, I suspect there'll be whole chunks of it just falling out. It's a very poorly made book. It's an Orion. It's the 50th anniversary. Yeah, 50th anniversary edition. So it has an interesting introduction in it, but I'm definitely going to have to get another copy sometime, and probably what I'll do is I'll just excise. Well, I won't have to do much excising. It'll just fall out the pages of the introduction. And I was hoping to get, the other things that I read, I did read some nonfiction stuff to sort of refresh memory, and, actually a couple things that I haven't read yet, because I only got this recently. It's part of 4 volumes. Pierce did, John J. Pierce, sort of a history of science fiction thematically done. And I've been reading bits and pieces out of this and the other volumes for the prompts, because I have not read this before. I only recently received it. I recently received this too, however, I've had it for a long time. It's The Cybernetic Imagination in Science Fiction. It is... There's a code in there of some sort. Published in 1980 by MIT Press. the MIT Press, by Patricia S. Warwick. It's got chapters like cybernetic imagination, science fiction as a form of literary imagination, information theory, and computer technology, social and philosophical implications of cybernetics, germinal literary images of early technology, the myths, early automata, Frankenstein and his 19th century followers, 20th century antecedents, Chapter 3, science fiction images of computers and robots. And then Isaac Asimov develops a genre, the role of consciousness. Uh, Chapter 4, an aesthetic and an approach, an aesthetic of complementary perception, the problem, too much material, a systems approach using isolated, closed, and open systems, advantages of the systems approach, and Chapter 5, the isolated system model, creation as an ongoing process, the robot as metaphor, machine intelligence as a tool, and then conclusion. Uh, Chapter 6, the closed system model, the dystopian literature, an automated society that controls, who controls a totalitarian world, the choice, a natural or an artificial world, visions of the end, and then conclusion. Um, the open system model, Chapter 7. This is speculative transforming, the speculative transforming imagination. The speculative transforming imagination. Okay, that sort of makes sense. It's academic, obviously. A complementary mode, genetic information codes, the computer and the community, man-machine symbiosis, transformations and reversals, Stanislaw Lem's robot fables and ironic tales. Chapter 8, Into the Electronic Future, the transformation of man and machine, and Philip K. Dick's robots. And then a conclusion, some critical questions and speculations. And there's nonfiction bibliography and a fiction bibliography. I've been looking a little bit into it. Let's say dipping into it. The bibliography is a bit sparse. Well, no, actually, it's not bad because it's going to be, this is 1980, so there's not going to be a whole lot of material on this. And it says Patricia Warwick, or Warwick, well, I'm assuming, no, she's American, I guess, yeah. So it's probably Warwick, is professor of English at the University of Wisconsin Center, Fox Valley. She is the author of more than 20 books and articles on the subject of science fiction. This is the first book that I've come across for her. It's interesting. I've noticed there's a few typos in there, like the name of short stories. They're missing part of the title, and I think it's a bit sloppy. It should have been caught, but it's dated, obviously. Well, it's only dated in the sense of what uh, is current in computer and AI and robotics. However, the study of the older material is not dated. It's still valid, and how for the time, and it's pretty good. I've had it for quite a while, and I just got this with all my other science fiction stuff, and I never actually cracked the cover. It just sat there for forever. Um, Other things I wanted to read, and I might still get this as a sort of a short thing. It's only 30 pages, I think it is. Right. Um, yeah, it's just like 30. Yeah, 30 pages. It's called Fulfillment. It's by A. Van Vogt, another favorite science fiction writer. And this is one of his last stories published in 1950-51. And I say last, a sort of classic age or golden age stuff, because um, even at this time, I think he was getting mixed up with Dianetics. And then it was later, I think about 15 years later, mid 60s, he came back to writing, but don't quote me on that. But I like his earlier stuff the best. And this one, if I remember right, it has to do with a computer, or as they usually called it at the time, a brain. And this is in a science fiction omnibus edited by Brian Aldiss, Penguin Books. It's been through many iterations. This is the latest one, and this one was published in 2007. It originally was published in 1961 by the looks of it. And it's got a lot of good stories. If it's got a Simak story in, then it's a good anthology. How's that for a quick decision on whether it's a good anthology? But yeah, so that's what I've been reading this week, and it's very doubtful I'm going to get my book to film done tomorrow. If things go well, then I might be able to do it on Sunday and still slip in for New Worlds November. And I'm hoping maybe tomorrow morning or tonight. Well, tonight actually, that I might be able to read the A. Van Vogt. It's not a long read. It's like 30, 35, 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes at the most. Reading. So I fingers crossed I can slip that in tonight. And then continue with 2001 and watch it maybe tomorrow night or Sunday morning, and still get it in, as I say. And then next week is going to be time travel. I'm still searching for a couple stories. I know I'm going to do Clifford Simak's his first published story, not the first one he wrote, but the first published story, which is The World of the Red Sun, and it was published in 31, I always forget, 31 or 32 Thrilling Wonder stories, I think it is, yeah. Or just Wonder stories. Because it went through several names. But anyway, it's important in his over of stories, I guess, complete stories. And then for the book to film is going to be H.G. Wells' Time Machine and the 1950s George Pal, with Robert Taylor, I think it is, yeah, for the film. I think there's been many iterations of the book into film, but I'm just going to do more or less the original one. And then for other stories, I still haven't decided yet what I'm going to do, and I plan on doing another sort of just a general rollicking, broad history of time travel in fiction on Tuesday. So that's the plan, and we'll see how that goes. It all depends on how I feel. Like even right now, I'm feeling like I'm fading, and I might need to lay down again. It's just it comes in cycles. This thing, but I'm gonna try. It's good that, like, short stories are good actually for that, because I can spend an hour maybe at the most reading, and then conk out again and just lay down. So I don't get interrupted in a novel like I have with 2001. Like, I haven't read anything today at all, and it's approaching. What time is it? Yeah, it's coming on to 7 p.m. So, and I only read a little bit yesterday. So wish me luck, and yeah. And do you have any plans? Are you joining in with New Worlds November next week for time travel? And what books are you going to read? And have you read H.G. Wells' Time Machine before, or seen the film? I'd love to hear from you. Take care, BookTube.